ladies and gents, boys and girls, chicks with dicks and dudes with tits. We are back, baby. You heard it here first. This is the season 2 of the Let's Get Wobbled podcast. Listen, I know I've got some explaining to do on why I've been gone so long, but listen, I plan to do just that, okay? So stay tuned for season 2 of Let's Get Wobbled, where you're going to have a wobbled experience like no other, with new guests, new topics, new stories, and some new experiences, Well, let's get this shit show started, shall we?
Warning: the following podcast with narrated listener are, due to strong language, violent situations, drug references, sexual innuendos, and who knows what else. Listener discretion is advised. With that being said, hang on, sugar tits, because we're about to get wobbled.
What's going on, you soggy sons of bitches? It has been a while. I understand that, and I know a lot of people have been asking me, like, hey, listen, we're just trying to figure out what's going on. You know, you started this podcast, it was great, a lot of people loved it, and they can't get a hold of me, they can't figure out why the podcast kind of went down the hill. So, I told you guys I had a lot of explaining to do, and I plan to do just that. So, over this huge hiatus, I guess I could say that I took, um, the real issue was there was some people out there who had a problem with the way I talked about my occupation, I guess. Um, I have to be very careful with what I say about my occupation. And I felt like, for the most part, I was doing a really good job of keeping things out that weren't supposed to be in. But I guess not, to some people's liking. I have a very strict policy that I have to abide by, unfortunately, and we're going to do a better job at that. So I was told to shut it down, shut the brand down, take everything down. It wasn't going to be worth it. People were going to get hemmed up over dumb shit. I didn't think that was the truth. I feel like somebody took it just a little too far, maybe. But regardless, this is not going to die. I'm not going to let this die. I've got too much invested in it. I just needed to find some time to do it. So, as you guys know, if you're old listeners, you went back and you listened to all the old episodes again. I re edited all those. So, I re uploaded all the old episodes from what I'm going to call season 1. There's still a lot of good content there. There's still a lot of good people that I had talked to, and I still want that to be heard. I don't want to lose that because that was so fun for me to do, and I had a lot of good memories back when I did episode or season 1. I'm sorry, I had a lot of good memories from season 1. So I went through, I re-uploaded everything, and I had plans to get everything going, get the ball rolling on season 2. I was just trying to figure out what I wanted to do with season 2 and how I wanted to make it better and different from season 1. So there was a lot of planning that went involved. That took some time. Obviously, it took time to re-upload all the old episodes. I had to listen to every episode 100% through, re-edit all of them. That took a lot of time. So then it took a lot of time to figure out where I wanted to go with this season. That took some time. And then to throw everything in the wrinkle, I'm not one to brag about myself, and I haven't really even done it yet. But I bought a house, and it was not something that I had planned on doing. Normally, when you buy a house, I feel like people sit down and they may have a plan and they get things figured out and everything. And it was just ironic. Kristen and I were talking about it one time, just out in the middle. I can't even remember what we were doing, but we just talked about what our plans for the future had held. You know, what we were going to do in the future. You know, had I planned on moving from my old house? And we talked about plans and talked about our life dreams and whatnot. And not even 2 weeks after that conversation was had between her and I, a friend of mine from works was talking about his parents selling their house and moving, and told him that I had was interested, kinda. You know, I thought about buying a house, but I didn't have any plans on it. I was like, well, you know, I'll see what happens. So a huge process ensued. I wasn't first in line to get the house. They already had somebody else in line to buy the house. That had to fall through for me to get the house, and luckily, thank God that it did. Once that all happened and I got pre-approved and everything. There was a huge process of getting the house ready before I could even get moved in because I'm a first-time home buyer, so there were certain qualifications and certain things that the house had to meet before I got approved for the loan. It was just a huge chaotic mess. I'm sure there's going to be a whole fucking episode titled just new house shit because that was a huge disaster, but we finally got all completely moved in. We're settled into this new house. Kristen and I are still together. We're working, just continue to work side by side with each other. And we're just trying to figure out now if obviously our careers are very important to us. I'm staying in my career. Obviously, she's getting ready to do a job change, not from a different job, but a different position, I should say, because she's getting ready to graduate college. There's so many things I'll have to catch you guys up on, and I know you guys are eager to hear about it and get everything out. And like I said, I plan on doing that. It's just going to take time to get it out. So um, I'm sure you guys are wondering, how's Stevens? Stevens is great. Him and I's relationship has not budged an inch. We are just as good as we were when the podcast started. He was a huge guest on season one. I just talked to him. I'm recording this episode right around Easter. So talked to him. Everything's good with him. He's on a different shift now. And he loves it. He's a better person, I think, now that he's not working midnights. And it just seems like everything's working good for him. We've hung out before on his days off, and we've had a really good time. So he will definitely be on some more episodes of the Let's Get Wobble podcast moving forward. That's not going to change. We've always had a good relationship, and that'll continue to stay the same. There are some new guests that I want to talk to about getting on. Obviously, I'm at the point where I'm trying to get the ball rolling with this, um, and letting people know that I'm getting back into it, and hopefully making this another weekly occurrence thing. Do I think that's going to happen right off the bat? I'm not 100% sure. I'm still working out the bugs. Another huge issue that I had was when I went to re-record the new season. I logged into the podcast thing that I used to be Anchor was the app that I had used. Then it switched to Spotify for podcasters. Was using it. Now they've transferred completely over to this new app, which my old laptop will not run the software. So I'm bumming Kristen's laptop right now just to use to get the new podcasting shit up. I don't even know if my voice is being heard right now. I may have just wasted 7 fucking minutes of me talking in the fucking microphone and nobody can hear it. So we're going to see if that works too. But this is all just a huge trial run to see if I can even get this to work. And if I can, then we're gonna start getting back into it. I think, um, trying to find more topics and everything for the season two and actually get it up and running. Because I know a lot of people reached out. They were like, "Man, I really missed the episodes. I had a lot of fun listening to your podcasts, and they wanted content." And I was like, "Man, I was just in a bad place with my work and people coming down on me about things that were said or things they thought were said or took a different way." And I understand you're not going to make everybody happy, but like my bosses wound up, some of them listened to the podcast and they weren't impressed with what was said. I don't even know exactly what was said that they got upset about. It was a huge clusterfuck. But I got really down about it. I was like, this podcast isn't making me any money. I don't do it for the money. I never have. I've put a lot of time, effort, and money into getting it set up, and just we just thought, you know what? It's not making me any money. I might as well just put it away and forget about it for a little while and get myself straight. Um, Also, another big thing. I know I'm bouncing around a whole lot, and you guys are just gonna have to hang in there and follow in with me. I told you guys I was on the fire department in season one. Unfortunately, with me moving to the new house that I have, I am outside the radius for the fire department. Um, there was also some really tough mental health things that I was struggling um, with the fire department, and that was at no fault to any of those firefighters at the old department that I was at. Those guys are amazing people. They reached out to me, asked me if I was doing okay, and I just wasn't. I thought that I was. Thought I was handling some of the things that I've been through, and I thought that I was doing the right thing, but I just wasn't. So I went and talked to a therapist, got my shit together, was talking to her, and then the whole process of me buying a house and moving every second that I had that was free was dedicated towards the house. So I no called, no showed for 3 of my appointments. Unfortunately, so I quit seeing the therapist there. I probably should get back into seeing a therapist, but just some of the things that I dealt with her and sat down with this therapist that I was talking to, and just realized that the fire department has been extremely good to me. The people are great, but there's just some things that have really been sticking with me through the whole thing, and I was having trouble dealing with them. And I just felt that, especially with me moving outside of the coverage area from that old department, I just felt like it was best for me to part ways with the fire department after 4 or 5 years, I believe I did there. I just felt like it was the right thing to do. So I don't think there was any hard feelings. I haven't really talked to a bunch of them since I left, but I don't think there was any hard feelings or anything there. I don't think. Hopefully, everybody knows like the truth. Obviously, I wouldn't think anybody would start any rumors or anything like that. But just moved out of the area, and like I said, I was having some hard time dealing with some shit going on with it. Plus, buying a house and all the other stress that goes in with that. So, if you've ever bought a house, you know exactly what kind of stress goes into that. Add on top of working second shift hours and just never being home. It's fucking tough. But like I said, season two is going to be different in a way, but it's also going to be the same. I would like to keep a comedy style podcast going, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to tell stories, we're going to laugh, we're going to bullshit. But yeah, just kind of running a test route, letting you guys know that we are still planning on doing this shit. It just may take a little bit longer for me to get my shit together and to keep running this podcast and keep running this new software and seeing how it works and how I can work with it. It's not the most user friendly, at least from what I can tell so far. So we'll see what happens. So another new thing that we're going to be getting into this season of the Let's Get Wobbled podcast, I'm going to try and at least run a couple ads through the episode. Now I understand what people were probably thinking. They're like, really fucking ads? Like, don't we get enough fucking ads and commercials? Listen, I understand. I'm kind of hoping to try to work with some other companies or some other people. And I thought about the same thing at first when I started the podcast. I wanted to do something like that, but I just realized that I don't do this for money, like I said before, and I'm not looking to make money off of it. So I just want to promote people or items, if you will. I don't even know what to call them, but I just want to promote people that have made a big impact on my life that are out there doing other things that are really cool. I want to let you guys know what products I use, and if I don't get any money from it, which I probably won't, I don't give a fuck. It's not something that is going to make or break me, but there's going to be at least one, I'm hoping, um, ad that runs every episode. But there's a couple different things that I'm going to try to do with that and see if I can just work that in. It's not going to be a very long ad read or anything like that, just something simple, something to kind of break it up if I need a little break where I'm doing something else or something. I can just throw a quick ad in. Um, it helps fill the voids of the natural pauses and shit where me and a guest can talk about what we're going to do next or whatever. I'm talking about a lot of podcast bullshit, which you guys probably don't fucking care about. You just want the content, and I will be giving that to you. I promise. We will get there. It's just going to be a process. So let me try and tie something in. So that way this episode has a little bit more purpose other than just, hey, it's something I'm throwing at. Oh, sorry. Got some weird ass feedback here. Let me fix that. Zhuzh. That's better. So let me find something, if I can, to tie all this together. So that way it's not just a, hey, I'm trying to do this bullshit again, and you guys should stay tuned. I'm actually going to try to give you something that you can take away from this, hopefully. Could be wrong. We'll see what the fuck happens. So I'm going through some of my notes that I had made for the podcast, and I saw a quote here that actually is really important to me right now and through this whole process that I've been doing through the whole podcasting thing and everything. So the quote is, no idea where it came from. It's just a note that I typed in my phone. Failure and adversity are the greatest teachers. There's a reason we can only see light of stars in the darkest times. So if you really think about it, that quote is talking about, the stars in the sky shine the brightest in the darkest times when it's dark out. So don't let that moment defy you. Obviously, like failure and adversity, it says failure and adversity are greatest teachers. So, failure and adversity have taught me so much since the last podcast that I aired because adversity happened, which inevitably brought failure because they wanted me to end the podcast. They wanted me to just to completely shut everything down. So, I had one of two choices. I could either lay it, like roll over basically, and just let that moment define me and be like, okay, well, this is it for the Let's Get Wobbled podcast. Well, fuck this. It's over. Whatever. Which I did for a while. I'm not going to lie to you guys. Like, I didn't know how I was going to come back from it yet. I was like, man, I didn't know what the fuck to do. Like, where do I go from here? And that was adversity that I had and failure all meshed together. And it's funny me reading back on this and thinking, like, sure, I had adversity and I had failure, but what's stopping me from turning that failure back into a success? What's stopping me from pushing forward and doing what I love to do? And that's making content, making you guys laugh, and just having a good time. Like, there's nothing stopping me from doing that other than myself, obviously. So, my point is don't let. I've always been a big person about handling adversity. Adversity is going to come your way no matter what. Every situation that happens in your life, well, I can't say every situation, but there are going to be situations in your life that have adversity. You're going to face adversity. If you don't go through life without facing some sort of adversity, you're doing it wrong. I mean, if you don't hit a bump in the road every once in a while, what are you doing that I'm not? So, why should we let that adversity define us? God and I are the only ones holding the pen to my story. So, why should I let anybody else try to write pages in my story? It just doesn't make sense. So I really looked at that and I wanted to dig deep into it and try to figure out why. Why am I doing this now? Why am I bringing this back? And I just feel like there's a void that was filled when I was doing the podcast before. And when I stopped doing the podcast, that void opened back up. And it is what it is. It's complacency, I think, is what happens there. I mean, you get used to not doing the podcast and you just don't, you think, oh, I don't have the time for it, when really, I mean, I do have the time for it. You just have to make time for doing things you like to do, so that way it's not all the time the grind of I go to work, I come home, I eat, I sleep, I wake up, I go to work, I come home, I eat. you know just trying to find those things, the small things in life worth enjoying. And to me, this is one of those things that's worth enjoying. I enjoy doing this. I enjoy putting content out for you guys. And I hope you guys enjoy listening to the content genuinely. You know, I'm still one of those people that I hate listening to the radio. I don't have a far drive to work at all, but I don't like listening to the radio at all. It's always Bluetooth to my phone, listening to music that I've downloaded. And even that shit gets tired after a while. It gets old, it gets stale. And podcasts are what I fall back on, or audiobooks for some reason. And I just thought, why not? What is stopping me from keeping this motherfucker going? The hardest part is getting the ball rolling. Once it starts rolling, it's so easy just to keep it rolling. But the hardest part is just getting it rolling, getting that ball started again. So this is the hardest part. And I hope that me just putting this out and getting it out there will force me to continue to keep, once the ball is rolling, it's going to be easy just to continue with what I'm doing. So here goes that shot. I hope you guys genuinely enjoy this, and I hope that you guys stay tuned for season 2. I'm going to have so much fun with it. I don't really have a whole lot planned, but if it's anything like season 1, I'm going to have a blast doing it. And it's going to be great. I'm going to reconnect with some people. I'm going to get some people on that have never been on before, hopefully, and let them share their stories and just talk and have a good time and put out good, wholesome, fucked up content for you guys to listen to and go, man, I can relate to that. Or, man, these guys are really fucked up, but their stories are funny. Either way, that brings a warmness to my heart in which I'm like, at least I'm doing something right. I'm doing something that makes somebody else smile. And at the end of the day, that's all the fuck I care about, really. So stay tuned. We're going to get this ball rolling, and we're going to keep it rolling. And we're going to just fucking go with it. So hang on with me. I'll see you guys next time. And until next time, stay wobbled. Take care, guys.